Psalm 64 is the fourth of four Psalms of trust that follow the great laments of Psalms 51 through 60. And like the previous three Psalms, this Psalm is also a little bit difficult to classify. It's not a pure Psalm of trust. There's some elements of lament that are contained within it. We don't know the situation here. Again, this could be the time when David was resisted by Absalom and Absalom's rebellion, and there were a lot of people that were speaking ill of David and trying to bring him down. So that's a possible scenario. Hear my voice, O God, in my complaint. Preserve my life from dread of the enemy. Hide me from the secret plots of the wicked, from the throng of evildoers. So David seems to be the victim here of a conspiracy, people working against him. And this certainly happened during the days of Absalom. And David's complaint here describes his adversaries as fighting him with words. They whet, that is, they sharpen their tongues like swords. They aim bitter words like arrows, shooting from ambush at the blameless, shooting at him suddenly without fear. David considers himself blameless, innocent in this particular situation. And it is the power of words that are threatening to bring him down. Verse 5, they hold fast to their evil purpose. They talk of laying snares secretly, thinking, who can see them? They search out injustice, saying, we have accomplished a diligent search. So they are willingly, knowingly believing that they are setting a trap that will bring David down, and they are just outright liars, duplicitous. And so David gives this single verse of wisdom here, for the inward mind and heart of a man are deep. I think that is just a response to the fact that people can be two-faced. They can speak well of you to your face and then stab you in the back. And David has experienced that on multiple occasions, and this psalm comes out of that experience. Perhaps you have as well. And while David is concerned that he is being undermined and destroyed by words, he is confident that God will shoot back. And that's exactly what we have in verses 7 and 8. And you might notice the similarity in language in verses 2 through 6 to verses 7 through 8. We have arrows, wounding, tongues, fearing, a lot of similar words that are used in the previous verses. And so while David's enemies are shooting arrows at him, God shoots back, and David's enemies are wounded. They're brought to ruin rather suddenly. Their tongues are turned against them. It's this idea we've seen before of justice and how those that seek out to destroy others wind up destroying themselves in the process. There's a bit of confidence that comes at the end of the psalm, verses 9 and 10, all mankind. So first we're speaking to those who are not necessarily believers, as David is. And then verse 10, speaking to the righteous or the upright in heart. All mankind will fear. They'll tell what God has done, what he's brought about, ponder what he has done. So God's judgment in verses 7 and 8 will be seen by the unbelieving world, and they will fear. They will understand there are consequences to evil and to sin. And the consequences for the righteous are that they will rejoice. They'll take refuge and they will exult. They will see the victory of God. All of this points to the Christian, to the great victory that will be accomplished by Christ in Revelation 19. It describes Christ as returning as judge with a sword coming out of his mouth. And the sword is the word of God. It is through his word that he achieves ultimate victory. And we get the description in Revelation 22:15, this glorious city that comes down from heaven, the city of God. It is stated that everyone of false speech and false life is excluded from that city. Liars will not be there. So this psalm, in a way, points to that ultimate time when God will respond and liars will be silenced by the truth of the word of God. And so David is able to put his trust in the Lord, and even though he is having arrows being shot at him, he is confident that God will shoot back, and God's aim is good, will hit its target. And so David can rejoice and put his trust in the Lord.